So welcome to this video about this mid-1980s game, Mission Omega. So if everyone's familiar with those sounds, that's what you used to hear when you were starting games on the ZX Spectrum and so on. They used to come on audio cassettes, you put them in, it'd play the sound on the audio cassette, and that was the data that loaded the game. So my obsession with this game began in the 1990s when I got it free with a magazine at the time when I was a child. And the reviews at the time, they always talked about having shut down 4 reactors, and I found that's complete nonsense, but I'll explain that later on. So it got good reviews at the time, not bad, including value for money. What does that value for money equate to in modern money? So it was £9.95 in 1986, so we can work out what it was in, well, at least 2019, using an inflation calculator. And we can see it was about £30, so about €32, $36, something like that. So I'm going to start with the end, basically, what I've learnt from playing this game as an adult. So the first thing is there's 8 reactors, and they're probably all accessible from the beginning. I say probably because there was a gate I couldn't get past for one of them, but they're probably all accessible in some way. The ending message depends on the completion percentage, so it's got nothing to do with just shutting down 4 reactors or anything else that the magazines at the time say or the instructions say. It's to do with the completion percentage. So that's probably tied into shutting down reactors. You probably get a percentage boost, but it's also about exploring the ship. The start location is chosen from a set of locations, so there's a bit of randomness, but it's random within a set. So there's certain ones you can start at and it'll pick one. Same with key locations. There's various different key locations on the map where a key could be, and just pick some of them at random. At least that's what I think so far. But there's no randomness in the teleporters that I've seen. If you go to a particular teleporter and hop on when it's a particular colour, you'll always go to the same place. So this is my first run through of the game that I recorded. My first run through of having played it in a couple of decades at least. The idea is that you can build different robots that are going to explore the ship on your behalf. You're given 500 kilograms of material, let's know this metric, and you have to choose the different components for the robots, and then you control them as you go around in different ways. Okay, so I'm just at this point just exploring the different options that are there, just reminding myself. So you've got different bases, different power sources, including squeezing a nuclear reactor onto a small robot. So start off here with the hover one, which is a fairly bad starting base for the robot, fairly weak. And you get to give them names as well. So this is part of, I think, the appeal of it to me as a child. You can create these robots, you can give them names, you can get some sort of emotional attachment to them. Here we go. So this is one of the bigger bases, so you can put on a more powerful weapon. The premise of the game is there is a spaceship hurtling towards Earth, and you need to shut it down, right? So they're going to send a missile at it to destroy it anyway, but you've got a certain time window to maybe shut it down so they don't have to launch a missile, explore it, learn its secrets, and so on. Where it's all at, in honesty, is the spheres. The spheres are the way to go. So a sphere with a light laser, and I think an IR sensor and a nuclear battery, you can get exactly 5 of them out of the material that you've got, so about 100 kilograms each, obviously. They're the fastest. They're not the strongest. If they run into any sort of trouble on the ship, they're going to get destroyed. But if you're sort of controlling them, you're programming their paths, I say nearly that's the way to go. So, just checking, you don't have anything that you can build with 19 kilos, so it's time to start playing the game. So this is what the main game looks like. Top-down view. First option you've got is manually controlling the robots. You drive around. Those consoles do absolutely nothing, they're just decorative. And you just go room to room, there's switches to flick. And because it was my first playthrough in a long time, I couldn't remember how to exit manual mode, which, just in case you need to know, is down and fire, and then you can switch to another robot or control something else. At this point, I decided I couldn't exit, so I was just going to keep driving round and round. There's a countdown constantly. You can see it down in the corner. So there's a gate. So that would normally have it like an energy arc across it. But I think because I flicked that switch, I turned it off. And these are the teleporters. So these are important. So the ship is made up of lots of different segments, different areas that you can't get to just by driving around with the robot. You have to get on the teleporter to jump between them. So they cycle through 4 different colors, and you hop on, and it takes you somewhere else in the ship. It's essentially like a big maze with these different rooms, the white walls. So here I am, a little bit later on, driving around, and I encounter one of the ship's automated robots. So I'm going to have a go, see if I can take it out, line it up, and I've got no chance. Okay, so that hover body type, it's got very low armor, very easily destroyed. Okay, but now this one, the tracked one, different story. So as well, this one is, I think, is equipped with the particle weapon. You see, it's not very fast. Watch it, it trundled up like a tank. No problems. Here we are. Further on still, I encounter one of the keys. So each reactor has its own key. It's like they don't have names, obviously. This is like the swirly key. Swirly key deactivates the swirly reactor. So that's the thing you have to do. Try and find the right ones. And I see it just sort of drive over it. You don't pick them up. They remain there. I guess you sort of like scan them like a barcode on the floor. Scan a barcode, shut down a reactor. But it enables another robot to pick it up. Say if this robot takes the key, driving towards the reactor, it gets blown up, another robot can come in and pick up the same key, try and carry on its work. Here you can see the map view, which is nice. So it's divided into 4 sections. You can see where you are, where you've been. So this is coming up to the end of the first run. There's 10 seconds left. It wasn't very successful. Found 1 key, no reactors. It left the robot off on his own at the end there, just for a little bit of freedom, just before its annihilation. And then we've got the height of mid-80s computer graphics there. And they don't pull punches either, these games, from back in the day. They just get called a snivelling worm for not achieving the objectives, just 12%. So I started mapping. So this is the map that I created after that first run. The orange squares are the teleporters. I don't know what they did at this point. I was just marking them. The red things are keys, so I started finding keys. The third run, 4th run through, started finding reactors. And the important thing is a teleporter. So I gave each teleporter a number, and then started mapping where each color of the teleporter led to. So there's 4 colors that it cycles through. So how was I going to find a route through that system? Thankfully, I came up with a system to solve this choose your own adventure book before, and it's this website here. So I paste in a CSV sort of file that describes the nodes. So each teleporter is a node. Each color that goes to another teleporter is like an edge. And I put in the algorithm that will find paths through from one to the other. So at the top it tells you how to get from a starting location to a key, and then from a key to the reactor that matches it. And if you put in an end node as well, it gives you that sort of custom path just in case you get lost. And again, you can just change the start node, put in a different end node, get it to find the route, and it will give you all those paths. Each path to the key, and then from the key to the reactor. So at this point, I'm feeling ready to go. I've got my software down in the bottom right that's going to let me choose a path through the system. I've got my map, I've got my robots ready to go, and I'm ready for my speed run to finish the game for the first time ever. So I started off, say the spheres are the fastest robots, so they'd be my preference. So you've got your manual, option for driving them around. Underneath that, I didn't even mention, I don't think, the auto option. They go off on their own. So I think that's where the sensor comes in, depending how good the sensor is, how accurate they are, how much they go to explore. And then underneath we've got that the program option, so you can program them to follow routes, which is nice as well. So long as you've already explored the map, you can program out by stepping through the rooms the direction you want them to take. Here they are all following up. So I've chosen the first key to go to, just going through the sequence. There's one of those gates, and sometimes you can actually just circle around the gates. They don't actually block anything. Maybe they're not even affected by a switch. You just have to go around a different direction. And from there, from that sort of swirly key, is the route to the swirly reactor next. Okay, and here we go. And that was it. So I wasn't sure at this point if I had to sort of blow it up by shooting it afterwards or whatever, but essentially that was it shut down. First reactor I ever shut down in this game. So moving on to the next robot. So at this point I'm deciding which one to choose, and this is going to be the longest route to the key. So picking a sphere again, so it's going to cover that ground the shortest amount of time. And there's also, for this one, a switch to deactivate a gate that leads to another reactor. So just to show that, park the robot up there and then choose the next one. So the next key I know is guarded by an enemy robot, so I pick Beast to go and take that one out. So the teleport as well, if you just creep onto them just at the edge, it locks the colour but doesn't immediately teleport you. So you've got an option then to like turn around and come back out if you've gone at the wrong colour. So that's a nice part. So the location of that square key, I think, was the location of the first key that I found. So there's a little bit of randomization there as to which key goes where. So I'm heading over to that square reactor. We'll see, here's the boss, not a boss, an enemy, taken out in no time. Activate the switch and go through the gates. Okay, there's the second one taken down. And then this one pub, named after the 80s puppet. It's got the longest route to travel along. The enemies, you just dodge them, just drive straight past them when you've got a sphere. Although with the spheres as well, it can be difficult to know which direction they're facing in, so sometimes, especially if you get a bit panicky, you can confuse yourself, end up driving into the wall, turning in circles. But anyway, so you go almost back now. Time to find the route, sort of highlight it down in the right, you can see that. And there's the third reactor shut down. So just the last one. So this is Raggy, named after the Raggy Dolls, the 80s cartoon. It's all fairly healthy dose of nostalgia throughout. It's going through a sequence, so they got to back out because it landed on the wrong colour. And this one as well also has a energy barrier that needs to be deactivated by a switch. But again, the switch is fairly close to the location of the barrier, just up and around the corner. So the switches are the most annoying part of the game, I would say. You don't really know what gate has been activated or deactivated when you flick a switch. There's no feedback. There's no real way of mapping it unless you're going to park up robots at gates, flick a switch, and then see what it changes. So they can see the status has gone from 3 to 4. Still not sure whether I'd just shoot them or not. But I figure at this point, if Beast hasn't destroyed it by shooting it, then there's nothing to destroy. So I'm guessing maybe I've done. Go to launch. And then no, mission failure. So again, fairly brutal statement. Been detained for a disappointing performance. And the important thing is that 24% mission potential. That's not good enough to get a good ending. So this is another run through. Again, the same 4 reactors deactivated, but this time more of the map explored. So you can see the white there of the areas that I've been to. We did lose Pob in this one. He was off on an automated trip. It got blown up. So we try and launch again. See, this time a different message. Same number of reactors deactivated, but a different percentage completed. So we've got a different result. So this is another run through where this time I stumbled across a 5th key. So at this point I was still under the assumption that there was 4 reactors to shut down. I knew you could get to more than 4, but I thought maybe there was only ever 4 keys randomly distributed through an environment. But it also seems like probably there are 8 keys there as well. So here you see me taking a lot of wrong turns because Raggy was on auto when it found the 5th key. So I didn't know how it actually reached that room. I'm having to have a look at the map and try and find a way back with about 3.5 minutes left. Need to find the nearest teleporter and then try and map a route. So that's where the software, which is a web page, it's all written in JavaScript, the algorithm. That's where it's handy. You just put in your start and end location. You don't have to do the manual process of trying to map it out. So I'm feeling a little bit cocky. I think, all right, I've actually reached the 5th reactor, plenty of time, doing a bit of scouting around, but then realize I've gone to the wrong reactor. That's why it had that rainbow sort of disco shield around it. So now I need to find the route to the correct reactor. Again, I need to look up the numbers for the start and end node, put them in the web page, find the route, and follow the codes. And here we are, less than a minute. Driving to shut down the 5th reactor there, so it's status number change. So now I go to launch. I get a commendation. Well, a commendation at the top, and then a notice that I got blown up in the missile blast at the end. So to get the best ending, from what I know, you have to achieve over 50% and launch within 45 minutes. That's the way to win the game. So thanks for watching. The video was made with this free software. Check that out if you need to do something similar. So that's it, except to say that it is possible to cheat in this game. So as you saw from the speed run that I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat in any of the videos where I showed you a completion percentage, but it is quite easy to cheat. On any of these horizontal walls, if you go to the edge and then sort of drive diagonally back and forth, you can actually pass through it. So you can see there's an energy gate, you just go past, should you want to.